The Struggling Artist Record Club is a vinyl record subscription service where I hunt and curate the best punk and punk-adjacent music out there and mail their record to your door each and every month. Imagine finding your new favorite band from across the country without ever having to leave the house. It doesn't get much better than that. The excitement of discovering new music just got that much easier. As a member of the Struggling Artist Record Club, you are going to receive some of the best music you've ever heard from bands you may never even heard of. Whether you've been collecting records for years or just starting out, the Struggling Artist Record Club is designed specifically for you. And right now, all new members get a Struggling Artist Record Club exclusive along with the monthly selection. So head to StrugglingArtistRecordClub.com, pick a membership, and start building that collection today. So are y'all are in Rochester, right?
Yes, Rochester, New York.
So how far is Rochester from Buffalo? Because I hear different things from Chris, and I'm like, you can't give me a straight answer.
It's an hour 15.
Yeah.
Hour 15. Okay, that's not
hour
bad.
15.
That's what it takes. That's what it takes for me to get to Boston. And it shouldn't, though. It's just traffic.
I was gonna say that's a different story, though. That traffic is not fun.
Yeah, no,
yeah,
it's
no.
not. It's definitely not.
Yeah.
So are you both from? Is everyone from Rochester? No, right? Yeah, Jay. I think I remember hearing you were from somewhere else, but
Yeah, we're kind of a band full of transplants. I grew up in South Jersey. Jay's from Long Island. Our guitarist Mason is from Central PA, like Hershey kind of area. And our bass player Calvin came to Rochester all the way from like Seattle.
oh wow, yeah.
Yeah.
We all went to the same college, is kind of how it formed.
Yeah.
Did you all meet at college?
Yes.
Yeah.
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 So the way we all met was kind of like I was in a fraternity at our college, and we had a cover band that Mason and our original bass player Sam, like the three of us were a part of that, and Jay filled in on a couple of songs. So that's kind of like how we all met and like became friends.
Right on. That's cool. And when did you, so it started as like a cover band, right?
Yes,
Kind of.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. And then you moved on to what you all do now. Now, let me ask you, because I'm friends with On the Cinder, so I know there's stuff out in Rochester, right? Like,
Yeah.
but how was like getting into like the music community out there? Was it easy? Because like those guys are from there, right? So, you know, it might be a different perspective from transplants, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, at least for us, it was a little bit easier just because, like, we had already kind of become part of the, like, RIT kind of like college music scene. And by the time we were starting to kind of move away from that, a lot of other bands from RIT were also kind of like crossing over into like the larger Rochester scene and like playing shows out at like other venues besides houses and everything. So it was pretty smooth for us, you know, especially because like I drag Jay to a ton of shows with me. So like it helps when you've already kind of like become a familiar face and people already kind of like know who you are and what you're about, you know.
Then also, like, so I get very tired at shows, just in all honesty. So, like, while this social butterfly is chatting with everyone, what I do is, like, when I'm watching the shows, I usually try to get pictures for people's, like, Instagrams, like, media and stuff like that. Because if you don't, like, drag along, like, a partner or a friend to do that, you're not really getting much.
Yeah.
So, I've noticed that's been, like, really appreciated. They'll be like, hey, I filmed, like, 4 minutes of, like, a full song. Like, can I get your number so I can send it to you? Here are a bunch of pictures that I got with different lightings and stuff like that. That way you can post these and use it as promo. So, like, that's how I got a little more connected, and also riding their coattails.
Yeah. It also kind of helps everyone out here is like super friendly
Yeah.
too. You know, it's one of those things where
not
it's like
fake.
it's a big scene, but it's also a small one where everyone kind of like starts to like recognize each other and know each other. You know, so.
Now, would you call like all Western New York like the same community, or is it kind of separated? Or
I
That's a
think
tough
it
one.
intermingles.
Yeah.
I think they're definitely different. They're definitely separate communities because I think Rochester just has more places for DIY stuff. So we'll get people from Buffalo where we're like intermingle, but if you want to be more in like bars or like specific places, you might go to Buffalo. Syracuse kind
Yeah,
like very
Syracuse.
lightly touches that, but I would say
Yeah.
it's there are sub communities within the community
yeah,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. They're like isolated pockets that we all kind of like trade back and forth with each other like every so often.
Yeah.
right on,
Like
right
there's
on.
one band in like Fredonia we're friends with, which is another like
Oh yeah. Yeah.
hour and a half away.
Yeah,
If
they're
that.
an hour south of us. Like if you drew a triangle between like Buffalo, Rochester, and Fredonia, like they're all pretty equidistant from each
Yeah.
other.
And they'll
Yeah.
come out here a lot to do shows.
Oh yeah.
Recommend listening to them. Hit Girl.
So tell me about the college music community, because I don't think I've ever talked to anybody about that. I never really thought that. I mean, I guess that has to be a thing, right? Especially if people are playing music while they're there. So like, what's that like?
Well, I feel like we also kind of get like a little bit of a different picture of it because we have like the Eastman School of Music like right here in Rochester.
Yeah.
So there's kind of like this weird influx of like really high quality musicians that like come in from all over the place to go to this School of Music in Rochester, you know. And so you get these people who are like insane players on like classical guitar or bass or trombone, you know, and they decide like, while I'm here, you know, start like a band on the side and kind of like jam out on that a little bit while they're like going to school for being like some insane like orchestra major or something, you know.
So I wouldn't even think that.
So
I was thinking of like brick punks.
yeah,
So
well that's a little bit different as well.
we went to RIT Technical Institute, mostly like engineering computer nerds. So we didn't have a lot of stuff for musical outlets built into the school.
Mm.
So it became like we have a strong DIY punk community, and there's a Discord called Brick Punks because RIT's thing is just bricks, bricks, and more bricks. But so that started. There's also Jam Club, which is a bunch of just musicians that happen to go to school. They know how to work the tech of it. They know how to run sound for shows, and kind of just work hand in hand with things. So we kind of had this weird like technical side of music come together, and then you got the expressive side followed, and then like they married to be this like weird mix of like now RIT scene and like Rochester scene kind of do overlap at this point. There are a lot of bands that either started in one transition to the other, or there are a lot of lineups that you'll see, and it's like two college bands and two bands of people who are like in their 30s, 40s, where like obviously these usually wouldn't mix.
Yeah.
So Jay, you said you're a theater kid, right? Is that what you said?
Yes.
So did you
Derogatory.
when you went to college, was it something theater related, like on the technical side or anything, or?
So actually, it was for American Sign Language interpretation
Oh,
because
okay.
Rochester is one of the biggest deaf hubs in the world. So I'm
Mhm.
fluent in sign language. I work as an interpreter. I actually did a lot with deaf theater while I was here,
Oh wow.
but yeah, there's a lot now. RT's kind of swinging more towards like they're trying to compete with Fredonia and be like more of a musical theater school.
Mhm.
But that was kind of in 2019. I think I was one of the first people to get a scholarship for performing arts.
Yeah, the
Mhm.
performing arts scholarship started
Yeah.
like the year after I got
I'm
there.
fairly sure I was the like incoming class of that
Yeah.
because also the requirements were very low to meet it when I came in. They'd be like, if you write a song this semester.
I would have killed for that.
And now people have to do like essays at the end of their semester summarizing, have weekly meetings with coaches. I
Well,
did
yeah,
not
that's
need
because
that.
they
It
got
didn't
rid
need
of
it.
half of the faculty supporting it, so like now there's just like no spots.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so I technically came here through like the theater and did a lot of theater stuff while I was in RIT, but I came here for American Sign Language to like provide access for deaf people.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, is there? I'm am ignorant to sign language. Okay, like I know some Italian slur stuff that's probably not in that book, right? But so is there like when because I see, sometimes you see that you catch the video of someone signing at like a concert or something like that, and like they're getting into the groove. Now is that to put emphasis on signing, or is that because they're just into the groove? You know what I'm saying? Like is there emotion in sign language?
Yeah, most of the grammar is facial expression. Like, the movement of your eyebrows can tell you whether it's a yes or no question or who, what, when, where, why question. So if they're down, it's usually who, what, when, where, why. If it's up, it's yes or no. So also, like, it's the equivalent of, like, I was interpreting Mary J. Blige's concert in Buffalo recently. And, like, Neo's playing. So, like, when he's singing, like, Let Me Love You, I can't just be, like, stone faced, like,
Yeah.
like, you have to, like, put motion in it. Because that's the equivalent of me going, let me love you. I'm going to love you until you learn to love yourself.
Right.
Like, that would not be a fun interpretation of it. So,
Right.
the groove sometimes is that. Sometimes they're dancing because, like I've seen, like, the one of, like, WAP. That's just a fun song to be dancing with. Or, like, I interpret for drag queens. A lot of those songs, I'm not trying to, like, move with it, but, like, I end up doing it. So you're not supposed to be the show, is, like, how we're supposed to just be there as access.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you're doing, like, full-on moves, you're not really doing what you're there for. But, like, shaking what your mama gave you a little bit is okay.
Yeah. So do they teach that though? Do they teach that side of it? Yeah.
They teach you the not, like, you shouldn't be the show kind of thing. Performance interpreting, we're, like, told about it, but it's more like when you go into it, you're like, oh, okay, I see where, like, the line is. Also depends on the deaf person. Because I've had, especially, like, when I've interpreted at our local drag club, there are a few deaf people that they've told me, like, they prefer when I get into it because it helps them, because they're profoundly deaf. They just feel the beat and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So me getting into it and really doing it, that for them makes it a better experience.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have others who are like, no, I just want, like, the words or the vibe or whatever. I do that. Like, I also interpreted for the Suicide Boys when they came to Buffalo. And that person barely needed an interpreter sometimes. Like, he'd do it to be like, hey, like, what song's next? What song is this?
Mm-hmm.
And occasionally for, like, clarification of lyrics. But otherwise, he was watching the show. So, it really depends.
Yeah. That's awesome. Now, what got you into that?
I took ASL in 11th grade because my high school had ASL 1 and 2, 11th and 12th. I'd been taking Italian since 8th grade at that point, and I am Italian, so, like, it got kind of boring, and I was like, I want a language that is, like, challenging to me. Also, it was just interesting, and it'd be nice to, like, talk to someone across the room without screaming it. So
I wouldn't know what that's like.
So, like, but so I ended up taking it, and I love the language itself, but also there's a lot of misdiagnoses in the psychology community when it comes to deaf people, and especially a lot of issues with, like, addiction, alcoholism, because of either not properly being given what they need to thrive. So, like, if your kid gets, like, a cochlear, they should also be signing too and have like that bilingual approach. Because a lot of people will just be, like, kind of forced to be pretending that they are hearing, and that can lead to a lot of language deprivation, attention focus issues, self-esteem, overall depression, all that stuff.
Yep.
Or, like, a common one is kids will be diagnosed with ADHD when they have what's called hearing fatigue. So, like, like when you stare at a screen all day, and, like, there gets to a point where your eyes are like, I've been staring at this too long, my brain can't focus. That's what will happen, because they'll have, like, a hearing aid or a cochlear, and they'll be straining their ears so much, they get to a point where they can't focus. But if you don't have that cultural knowledge, you're going to assume, oh, this is ADHD, or this is a processing disorder, or learning disability kind of thing.
So we're going to get to the band, I promise. But I just find this really interesting. So, like, I grew up, like, I was, from the time, I don't know, I think I got tubes in my ears when I was like 4 the first time. I've had them a few times, but like I couldn't hear, and like my mom would have to scream so I could hear her. You know what I mean? And like I know because of a family I knew that had people who were deaf, but they found it early. Like they weren't deaf. The kids weren't deaf right away. It was coming, so they tried to get as many words and sounds in front of them as possible because it helps with speech. So
Yeah.
like, and I never really put it together, but like I have weird weird issues where like if I don't think about some words, I slur them like to the point. And then if I was to drink and get drunk, like there's certain words I can't even say at that point. Like I can't get it out, you know? And like I said, I had tubes probably 3 or 4 times when I was a kid, and I guess that's kind of a lot. I had ear infection. I mean, I guess I could probably still get one, but like I remember I was 20 and I was in I was in this program called Job Corps. And like I was like, hey, I have an ear infection, and they're like, no, you don't. You're too old. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like I was like so mad. Like they went.
How does it have an ear infection?
I
I
don't
definitely
know.
had one last year, and I am 24.
What?
Yeah, I just remember.
I don't remember that one.
I just remember like I was so mad at these people because I'm like they're like, no, it's not that. I'm like, I'm telling you, it is. So and then on top of that, I have like bad allergies. Where I live, 3 years ago was the first time I mowed a lawn in like 20 years. And I mowed the lawn and I lost my hearing from my allergies because like there was so much fluid buildup.
Probably swelled.
Yeah,
That would
yeah.
make sense.
I had like 20% hearing for like 6 days. It was, and I went to the clinic, urgent care, and they're like, your ears are clear. There's just fluid back there. You just gotta wait it out. I'm like, this is not right. Like, you know, so like I've always kind of had like hearing issues, and I think that could be why I'm loud. But I also know like from a kid not being able to hear things properly, I think that's why I have that slur that I am so super self-conscious about. You know, so
Yeah, I mean, my roommate's deaf, and there are some words that she says that it's because she's only read them. So she has a hearing aid. She does like speak normally, but there are some words that like she's only read them. So she'll say it, and I'll like be like, "What is she talking about?" I'll be like, "Oh, do you mean this word?" And she goes, "Yeah," but like she was sounding it out with what it looked like. Like I don't think necessary is one of them, but like something like that where like she would see NEC, so she'd say neck instead of ness, because she's looking at what she read, not at what she would learn at that age.
Yeah, I mean, there's words I still struggle with. I can't say. I make a joke out of it about like because I can't say vulnerability without really thinking about it, and I'm like, that's how I'm so afraid of being vulnerable with people. I can't even say the word, you know. So, but anyway, yeah.
Sicily and Sicilian. My friend Cal cannot say Sicilian for the life of him. He goes Sicilian, like it disappears in his mouth.
Yeah. Are you Sicilian?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You wouldn't be able to tell, but.
Yeah. Well, you won't be able to tell by my name, but I'm Calabrese, so.
Got you. Okay.
But yeah, I got a yeah. my mom's father was Italian or was Italian, I guess. And
see, that's why you're loud, though.
Yeah, that's that too.
Real...
Yeah. That too, and I wave my hands way too much. Like I smack. I mean, I'll be sober at a show and I'll smack someone's beer out of their hands because I'm talking too loud. You know.
In 8th grade, at my lunch table, my friend Gabe had to learn to catch my hand. So I'd be talking, and he got hit so many times he learned to catch my hand.
You have loved this poor kid.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Now, Skye, you're from South Jersey. Yes. New Jersey is known for some of the most amazing music we've ever been able to hear. Were you playing music there too? Have you always been involved?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say always involved. Just because like I learned how to play drums at like 12 years old. My stepdad tried teaching me guitar, didn't go well. Chris and I talked about that story on my episode with him, but it was just like I wasn't getting guitar, it's getting frustrating, so he like taught me how to play drums instead. And since then, I've probably been playing in bands since I was like 14 years old.
Mm,
My high school had like this rock band that would play like the pre-games for like football and basketball games. It was a lot of fun.
nice.
So I've been playing in bands, you know, like your typical like high school kind of like basement band since I was like 14 years old.
Mm,
Um, but it took me a while to properly get like kind of the social skills and like the knowledge and wherewithal to like get into a local scene. Like I didn't properly start doing music and like going to shows and everything until after COVID.
yeah, yeah. Same.
Yeah.
Same. So I took like a 10-year break. Like I was like, I remember me and my buddies went to see the Dropkick Murphys, and it was the first time I ever saw them at an arena. Like
Yeah.
before that, it was always these small clubs, you know. So like we saw them in this arena show, and I was just like, oh. And the funniest thing is like Frank Turner was there. Off with Their Heads were there, and like I don't remember. I remember hearing them then, but like I didn't know them yet. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
just like, and then fast forward, like Off with Their Heads is one of my favorite bands. So, if you can't tell by all the mental health talk I do, but like,
Oh man.
but that was like the last show I had gone to until after COVID, and that was in 2011 or 12. I don't even remember what year it was. You know what I mean? So it was wild. So like, but I wanted to go to shows when I couldn't during
Yep.
COVID, you know.
Yeah.
So and then when it opened up and the podcast kind of was moving towards this music thing at the time, and it just made sense to start going to shows. So I've been going. I mean, I feel like I could go to more. My work schedule's wonky, so like I work every other weekend, so I can't go all the time. But you know,
Yeah.
I try to get out there as much as possible. You know, so but you know,
It's tough.
but I have a social like anxiety too. Like it's which is weird for somebody who worked in bars and clubs most of his life. But like I just kind of like if I'm not working, then I'm not in control of things, and then I'm just like So my options are
Yeah.
like my options are like get drunk, and then everyone's like, whoa, look at that drunk giant, you know, or I just kind of stick
Yeah.
to myself. But we're getting there. We're getting there, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's definitely like a muscle that you kind of have to build, you know, for sure. I mean, I still kind of have like a lot. I know I hide it really well, but I still like walking up to new people at shows is like a little bit awkward because there's always that barrier of like, does this person want to talk to me? Like, do they really care like who I am or what I have to say? You know, like there's
Yeah.
always that little voice in the back of your head.
It also
But
doesn't
then
help that like everyone you bring to show is introverts, so we like sit in the back and we're like, oh, there's
so it's
always
just me
someone.
with like a
Like,
fucking audience watching me.
yep, it's all of us sitting at a table while we watch Skye go find a new friend. We're like, okay,
That's
give it an
awesome,
hour.
though.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's like if you're just nice to people, you know, people tend to be nice back.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any favorite like bands from back home? Just from New Jersey in general? You know, I don't know I don't know the geography of Jersey at all. So when you say South Jersey, I have no idea what that means. But
Like Philly.
So I was gonna say, yeah, I grew up about 20 minutes across the bridge from Philadelphia.
okay.
So
So
yeah.
Philadelphia, like punk rock and stuff, was probably pretty heavy, right, for you.
Oh yeah, but I missed out on all of it because I was the lamest fucking child you'd ever met in your
That
life.
happens. That
I
happens.
I feel so bad like thinking back on it because like I could have seen like mannequin pussy in like the like basement of a church, you know, for like $5, and now they're like this huge national touring act, and I'm like, I didn't know how good I had it, you know,
Yeah.
or like Bobby Mahoney is this artist I just got into recently, and
Mm-hmm.
his stuff's absolutely awesome, but that's another like person I could have seen in high school for literally like $5 shows at like somebody's house, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And it's
Yeah.
like now you go to the shows and it's like playing 1,000 cap rooms for like $35 tickets, you know. But
I just
funnily
recently
enough,
did.
the Bad Ups actually,
Oh yeah.
I love. First of all, your episode with the Bad Ups is
Oh,
fantastic.
thanks.
But I
Thanks.
listened to the album like right afterwards. It's so good. It's
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah, Travis did a really good job writing that one because it was like a little bit different from their other stuff. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
He did a great job. I like those guys a lot. They're great people. I met them at a house show, and like the house show was like 13 bands. It was huge,
Oh
and
shit.
it was actually in Jersey.
Oh, get out.
And it's funny because I went out there to see all the Boston bands that are here. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, and I met a bunch of bands while I was out there. This was a couple years back. Chris came with me, and his buddy Jim, and they filmed it. And like, you know, I don't. They still got the video. They're still working on that stuff.
I
But
gotta find that. Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah,
Hell yeah.
yeah, it was cool. It was cool. So, but yeah, so yeah, all right. So you had some Philadelphia punk rock influence in you, and you know, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, and you said you've been in a few bands.
Yeah, yeah. I think. Oh God, started to lose track. I played with.
What was your first one with Sarah? What was the name of that?
Fuck. I can't even remember if we had a name. To be honest with you, I.
So the lead singer of their first band came to our release show and stuff like that. So we love Sarah though.
Oh, Sarah's the fucking best. Yeah. But
Right.
I've played right now. I play in two bands here in Rochester. So there's Faith to Fear, and then Comfort Object, which is this like trans emo band that I play drums in as well.
Nice.
10 out of 10, highly recommend.
Why,
Yeah.
thank you. But yeah, so those are the two.
And then Jay, have you been in other bands, or this is your?
So this is surprisingly my first one. So like I grew up like being the roadie for my dad.
Yeah.
So my dad's from Brooklyn, grew up in Brooklyn in the 80s, grew up around a lot of the music scene, and like he's been doing gigs since before I can remember.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's easier just to split up phases of my life into like what band he was in because it's a much clearer like depiction.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't end up. I mean, I was dating a guy in the frat, which is how I ended up on that cover band.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is the one that's first, like, my, like, actual, I'm in a band, I'm a permanent member, I'm a starter from it. I remember texting my dad being like, hey, look, I'm in a band. Are you excited?
That's
And
awesome.
he was so happy, he gave me his old PA system.
Nice.
So that's nice.
Still got it in the basement.
We do. And we use it because it's nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is my first band. I was more of a musical theater kid, so like growing up, first off, like if my parents let me go into the city, I was seeing a Broadway show.
Mhm.
Because my mom tracked my phone and stuff like that. So if I'm in like a basement of an apartment complex at a house show, you bet your butt Renee is pulling me out of there.
I
in
couldn't
2
imagine.
minutes.
Oh my god.
I don't want to imagine.
Yeah.
So
Oh man.
I was a goody two shoes in high school. Also, like I didn't go out unless like my parents knew and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I was chaperoning my friends like getting weed, but I was still they knew where I was going kind of thing. So like I never really got into bands or like the punk scene because I was a theater kid, and now is my first like rendezvous transitioning from theater singing into punk singing. It's been an interesting go. But
Yeah. So I think about like I've done like a little bit of acting and in film, but also like I dipped my toes very early on into like only stage acting because of like so pro wrestling, right? So I'm a giant human being. When I was training in that, and like they teach you about like how to act, right? And how to be you have to be a stage actor, which is a lot different than being a film actor. Is there a huge difference between like being on stage and like singing in that aspect as opposed to being like in a band?
I definitely do less Charlestons now, but
You gotta break that shit out of the show now.
I
Do
could
it
do
this weekend.
I could do a box step in that. You know, we're going to the Bronx.
Oh,
I'm not
man.
gonna be box stepping in the Bronx. I'm good.
Oh.
But it's I would say it's more comparable, in all honesty, to how I would do film acting versus stage acting.
Yeah.
When it comes to like facial expression and stuff like that. With like body movements, I would say it's very similar to stage because like my goal is, everyone in the back of the theater should be able to understand what you're doing.
Right.
That's
I think he was
always
more
the
asking
goal.
about singing style.
Oh, I thought you meant like stage presence. Singing style wise, the difference is placement. And like I'm used to singing like up here in the mask, doing vibrato, doing high notes. You can still hear I do a lot of belting in my like songs. Like almost every song ends with like me yelling, but it's more of a controlled belt rather than like a raw yell.
Yeah.
So it's been interesting just because I was trained as soprano and now I'm kind of singing more alto tenor, which is like just a switch in what I'm used to and placement.
Mm-hmm. Nice. All right, so we're gonna get into the band, but right before we do, I just want to, Skye, you do home recordings, like a lot of is all this stuff like you do all this stuff on your own?
Yes. Yeah. So I'm the person doing all of our recording. Most of it's done in the like either in my office here or in our basement. Jay and I have like both levels of a duplex here in Rochester, which works out really nicely for band stuff. So we either record here or we have a rehearsal block at a studio in downtown Rochester.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll use that room whenever I have the time and we can squeeze it in. I'll try to get like drums or vocals done there so that I don't have to like put up 8 different blankets in my office to like block out wall reflections, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Do you is this something like were you always into that side of things, or like did you go to school for this, or is this just something you've been picking up on your own?
Yeah, so this is something I picked up on my own. I had a friend in early college, Chris, that showed me how to get Ableton and how to get that on my laptop and set it up and record through that.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of like showed me like some of like, click this to record. Here's how you set up a track. I kind of just like putzed around with that for a while. And did like just a lot of recording on my own. Just like awful vocals and an acoustic guitar and kind of just like leveled up from there as I kind of like picked up more equipment. Went from like a USB mic to picking up like a proper preamp, and then I had, like an SM57 here, a couple of drum mics there. But it's been like slowly but surely since like 2019, like picking up tips and tricks here and there, kind of like recording on my own. And my first band up here, Retrograde, I wanted so badly to record our own stuff. I remember just like begging because we had like the setup out in the garage, and I already had like my drum mic set up all the time just because I was messing around with it trying to figure it out. But I've been like messing around with live recording bands and recording stuff on my own for like 5 6 years now.
That's awesome. Yeah. So when I started doing the podcast stuff, this was like 2017. I had like a Behringer mixing board, and the interface was this like little, I don't know, it looked like just a plastic toy that you would
Yep.
plug in
Yeah.
here and play. And it was like, and I stopped the podcast for like a year and a half and then brought it back the end of 2019. And then like I started building up my little studio stuff little by little. And
Yeah.
then I'm on my third like interface, and I use a Rodecaster Pro, and like this thing is like, I'm like, why didn't I just have you from the beginning? You know what I mean? But it was one of those things
Yeah.
where
Right.
if you're gonna make a purchase like that, you got to make sure like this is what we're doing. You know.
Oh yeah, no, for
Yeah.
sure. I've definitely had many moments where I was like, I'll cheap out and get like the $100 instead of the 200. Then you end up spending $300 anyway,
I tell you,
Definitely.
the first mics I used, I couldn't even tell you the brand. They were like these $15 microphones, and they worked so well. But then they like kept selling the company, so I tracked it enough so that I had these microphones I bought because I ended up buying more and more. But like
Yeah.
there were like 3 different companies at one point, like that I bought them before I went to like Audio Technica, and I didn't really like that, and then I finally got the SM7B. And then honestly, once I got the Rodecaster, like I was checking out the Rode Pod mics, and they're just as good as this thing at a fraction of the price. And I'm like, God damn it! So like I have my like
Yeah.
my go bag if I have to travel to record somewhere, and I use those for that because they're way cheaper than this stupid thing, but they're just as good. So
Yeah. Yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, you pick up, but and as far as like editing, it's funny because I went to like broadcasting school, and I was made sure like I found like hack versions of the softwares so I could keep up on it, and then I just I wasn't doing anything. There's no reason for me to just record me talking and then, well, at the time I didn't realize it was to record me talking and then go back and edit it, you know. So I stopped, and so it took me a little while to get reintroduced to this stuff, but like with like. With music, I don't know if I could like, I'm not there. I can't mix and master music. You know what I mean? Like that's a lot different than me just talking into a microphone or just doing audio, or even when I make like little, like I'll write copy and do little ads for people and like I'll throw in sounds and stuff, but it's all very like, I can make it sound good with what I do, but I like with music and stuff, I just feel like there's just too many working parts. So I mean, it must have taken a little while to get used to it, right?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where, especially like, oddly enough, the weirdest part was like hearing your own stuff played back to you, like hearing yourself on. I'm sure it's the same thing recording a podcast, right?
Yeah.
Like hearing your own voice back for the first time. But I remember the first time recording like drums to a click, I listened back to it, I was like, fuck, that's what I sound like? You know?
Yeah.
Oh god, I gotta step it the fuck up. Jesus. Yeah.
I even do that with with the ads I do for people, like the spots and stuff, because I'll listen to them and I'll hear that one word that I slurred, that, you know what I mean?
Yep.
For going back to the other thing. I'm like, ugh! But no one else hears it, just me, you know,
Yep.
I'm like,
I have the same thing all the time. So the single version of Break Me Down that's on our Bandcamp,
yes,
was recorded in my fucking garage at like the last apartment I lived in like March. So it was fucking freezing outside. I had this propane heater. And there's moments, if you go back, you can hear the propane heater like going in the background. Especially when it all gets real quiet, you can hear like that shh. It drives me fucking nuts every time I hear it. But it's like there's nothing you can do about some of that, you know.
yeah. All right, so let's get into the EP. Codependent Anonymous. Codependence or pendants?
Codependence.
Yeah.
There we go. Because Break Me Down is on that one, and I have some things to say. So I'll start with this EP. Like this. Whoa, my microphone's doing. See, things happen all the time. This is crazy. All right, so I see this EP. So I had heard Break Me Down prior and Leash. Those were like the two singles, right, that came out.
Yes.
And, yeah, and I think we featured Leash on the Underground Noise with Arya.
Yeah, that was that first episode of Arya. But still my favorite descriptor we've ever gotten, by the way. Lo-fi garage rock. I was riding that for like a good minute. That was kind of cool.
That's awesome.
Arya's got like a fun way with words, man.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, and with his music, he has a does a good job.
Oh yeah,
there too. Yeah. So I had heard those before, and I was like, I kind of felt the vibe with it, and I was like, all right. And then like I didn't even know the EP came out because the algorithms on social media suck. But when we were talking, I'm like, this has to be out, and I went back and I picked it up recently. And I see you have a cassette out too now, right?
Yes, yeah.
Right.
I literally just picked those up yesterday. I'm so excited.
We'll circle back around to the cassette, but yeah. Like, to me, like listening to the EP, there's like this. I don't know. I'm gonna use a big word and probably use it wrong. Like metamorphosis. Is that what I'm? It's like a, like, yeah. I saw a head nod.
Yeah,
all right, cool. Yeah. There's like, it like starts off and again. Whenever I describe music, I if I didn't like it, I wouldn't have you on. So don't take anything I say as a negative at all. But it starts off and it's almost like, I don't want to call it a concept album because I feel like this was actual, like, was this a real trauma experience we're talking about in this?
So basically, for most of them, I had Codependence Anonymous is like a group like AA.
Okay.
That I had to go to after a 3-year relationship breakup.
Okay.
Because I had severe codependence issues.
Yeah.
Something like Lock and Key is just a song you had in your back pocket. Like, that's not about anything.
Yeah, that's just a song I wrote about my
really?
wife.
Because it fit. It fit.
I know.
Yeah.
So, funny story. These are the first 5 songs we made as a band, like genuinely. And we're like, oh, we'll release these as an EP. And like, what, a year and a half later, they were still like the songs we ended up releasing. Because it was like, the point is to be kind of like a story of a way, like if Lock and Key, Leash,
Lock and Key,
Detox,
Leash, Detox,
Break Me Down, Roadkill Jack.
Yeah.
Because they're about Leash, Detox are about the same person. Roadkill Jack is just because I love Goodbye Earl. And then
I have 90s
I keep saying people like, do you know the
angry
song Goodbye Earl? And
country.
they're like,
Yeah.
That was my rendition of Goodbye Earl and like my own twist on it because I love that concept of like.
You have no idea. My conversation's over. I had nothing to talk about. No, I'm just kidding. But I have written down right here. I wrote Shania Twain, Faith Hill, Dixie Chicks. Like,
yep.
Like
perfect. That's exactly
yeah. That was like, and they were like the punk rock of country music in the '90s. Like they were singing about things that like people were like, like it was, don't say that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Right on. All right. Yeah, exactly.
Is a different person, not my ex. That is a real situation, though, that I experienced, and that was me processing through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so like it starts off in like almost like and not to no pun intended here, but it's like with the first song, it starts off and is like you can feel the fear, right? You can feel the fear, the shyness, the hesitation, and then as the EP goes on, like you get to you get to your like go fuck yourself moment here at the end. Like we're gonna like you deserve this shit, like not you, but like the antagonist. You know what I mean? The antagonist deserves
kind
this.
of antagonist we've created throughout the whole
and like as it goes on, like every song I'm like yes, you like I'm rooting for the person, the protagonist. You know what I mean? I'm rooting for them as this EP goes on. And then really by the time like Break Me Down hits, it's full on like we're right there with you. We're like, yep, you get him. So, and I will say this about Break Me Down, like I find myself, and maybe I don't think it's because it's the one I've known the longest of the songs, but like I'll like be singing those little like gang vocal hooks with you guys. You know what I mean? I'll be like, hey, break me down. It's got a good. So not only is this EP like, I mean, it's only 5 tracks, but like it feels like you're living an entire lifetime within it because of the story. You're right. The overarching story. Now, Skye, I know you listen to the podcast. So I'm huge on storytelling. So like this is like. This is, and I'm so happy that everything I've said so far is aligned because sometimes I feel like people think I'm a lunatic because they're like, I didn't get that, but okay, cool, thanks, but so like by the time you get to Break Me Down, you're just like, all right, this motherfucker's gonna catch one, and then Roadkill Jack comes around and you have that '90s twang, like fuck you twang in there. And it just like it, and that's exactly what it reminded me of. Like the first time I heard it, I'm like, "Whoa, this is like one of those country songs." Like one of the, this was what an awesome EP. I'm gonna have to go back and get the cassette now. So I have my little cassette collection.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah. So these songs, like you guys wrote these songs right away, and it was what you were like, yeah.
Yeah,
Leash was my first one, I think.
Yeah, Leash was like the first song you wrote with us, at least.
The first full song.
Yeah, the first full song we came together with.
There was one before that called Top 5, which is partially my favorite song. The worst song I've written.
That song in a minute.
It's probably the worst song I've written, but the hook basically is Top 5, I top, going all night, rocking the bed nonstop. The best seat in your house is the one right on top of your mouth. I came up with that, and then I was like, guys, this? And they're like, let's hold off on that one. So Leash was the second.
So Leash was the second one, and we kind of came, Lock and Key and Detox kind of came already put together because Lock and Key I had just like written drunk just like 2 years ago. And it was just like I was hanging out at the house by myself. I had all my recording gear already out, so I just like threw something together, like a quick demo. And it just kind of lived with me for a while. It was the same with kind of like the riff and that whole production around Detox.
Mm.
Like the only thing it needed was lyrics, and then
Yeah.
Sam added just a kick-ass bass line to the rest of it.
It used to be
But that
called,
was
was it Back and Forth? Was the original name of it? 'Cause that's what you had on the file.
yeah, that was like the working title for it because I couldn't think of anything
Basically,
better.
they sent me the like instrumental, and they're like, "Can you put lyrics over this?" So I sat down, and, like, eventually got lyrics over it, and like Detox specifically was, I was like, okay, there's like three defined parts. So that one specifically, I was like, we're gonna do some storytelling. So
Yeah,
it starts off with being addicted and feeling like the like greatness of being on the drug that is your partner. And it's like, all right, no, I'm starting to realize this isn't okay. I'm starting to crash from it.
Yeah.
And then it goes into the end where I'm like, I realize I have to like give this up because it's not good for me.
yeah,
Right. Right. Yeah. So I noticed that in that song, and like it made me think about situations in my life where you know what I mean, and like so like that the codependence anonymous is like that's I never even heard of that before. Yeah.
I only know it because I took a mental health interpreting class and we learned about like all the different kind of like anonymous groups because they all have like the same like not the same 12 steps but like similar 12 steps. Like I have a coin from my first meeting still
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. So there's that. There's it's like how like there's Overeaters Anonymous. There's a bunch of like things you can be addicted to that having a group to talk about it with that's like similar feeling,
Mm.
especially when you're talking about codependence. It helps because like, oh, you understand that like I have this addiction to this person. Because
Yeah.
like it feels like a weird thing to talk about, but when you have a room full of people, and it was people of all ages with like different relationships. Like there was one who like she was like her ex fiance was her like codependent person, and then like another one was like um a mom to her son kind of thing, or like to
Mm.
like an ex wife, or like to their grandmother, or like in different, not only just like oh we're in love and we're codependent, but in any way of like that relationship. So it was really cool to see. But yeah, that's the thing. There's an anonymous for kind of anything. You just gotta look it up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Cause like I just know like cause I mean I used to say like I've never been addicted to any drug, just like bad people. You know what I mean? Like, and
yep.
I never understood that about me. Like that was so, and I've come far from that. And the last time something like that happened, I was like, like I was like, never again. And then like the next time it started to happen, I put the kibosh on it. Like, nope, we're
Yep.
done. You
Hell
know,
yeah.
and like, but then like I went into like this is I might be oversharing, I don't know, but I went into like this like 2 years of like celibacy, like and not just like not just like on a physical level, just like I didn't want to like any kind of
You don't want to
relationship.
attach to anyone.
I didn't
Yeah,
want anything. Yeah. And like, and I've been someone who runs away from commitments and stuff like that. So the fact that I always found like the wrong people, it makes me think like, what makes me attach myself to that person? You know what I mean? Like that
yeah,
type of person. And I don't know, my father was a shitty guy. And like, I spent most of my, you know, up until I was about 30 trying to like get this guy to fucking love me. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
maybe it's that.
yeah.
I don't know. Like I'm not a therapist. I just go see one. You know what I mean? So
I mean, if you
Yeah,
were
right.
raised doing that chase, that's a hard habit to beat. Like flat out. That's just a
Yeah,
if that's what you're raised with,
yeah.
trying
Yeah.
to kick that when you're like 2 decades, 3 decades, 4 decades into life,
Yeah.
it's not easy.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
for
It's
sure.
weird. It's but those are the ones like I want. Like I want that. Like I'm like, this is not good. So anyway, I did my 2 years of you know, just not of doing like talking or trying or trying to get emotionally attached or anything, none of that stuff, physical, emotional, nothing. And I don't know, but I mean, it worked, I guess. You know what I mean? Like I find myself now like, you know, feeling better about things and I make better choices. And, but like, yeah, it was just like, it was a long time. Like, it was just like, you know, without getting into specifics, but it was like, it was a long time. So
Yeah.
like, I really related to that song and, yeah. And I was like, yeah, I get that. Like, I totally get it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that,
And that's
you know,
kind of been like the mission statement, I think, from the start is like we don't cover like brand new ground by any means, I think, with our
No.
but like the approach, I think like it's the approach and the context that surrounds it, I think that kind of like differentiates the conversation we're trying to have. Because like you said, like I didn't know what Codependence Anonymous was until Jay started talking to us about it and bringing it up as like a potential title for the EP. And I was like, yeah, that's got like a very it's thematic. Like, what is that though? You know, so
yeah,
it's like
yeah.
those are those kind of like odd angles that I think we
Well,
tend to
I'm
take.
pretty sure when I mentioned Codependence Anonymous, there was a good month where y'all, like, not everyone in the band knew it was a thing.
Yeah,
Like, I think Mason made a joke about it. I'm like, Mason, you know, just like an actual, like, group I went to. And he's like, what? Like, he thought I just came up with it out of nowhere. I'm like, no.
in fairness to Mason, I think I was the one that made the joke.
Oh, fair enough. I'm not offended. It
Yeah.
was more like, it wasn't, because, like, you hear that and, like, okay, you think I'm just going off of, like, AA, which that is what it's going off of. But, yeah, no, it's not known by many people. I
Mm.
also grew up in a very much, like, mental health comes first household. So I
God,
had
what
the
was
choice.
that like? That must have been awesome.
Yeah, right? You don't want to get into it. I feel intensely jealous.
Yeah.
I'll say is it's kind of a group of two very autistic people, so there was no not being blunt. I was raised of being blunt and like not with the like I don't say I'm brutally honest because I don't
Right, right.
enjoy brutality.
Yeah.
I say I'm blunt. If I hurt your feelings, please let me know.
Right.
So with that though, I am able to express a lot of my feelings. I have vocabulary. I was given the vernacular from a young age due to the support to be able to talk about it and not be afraid to talk about it in a better way, which I think is like why I'm able to do like stuff like detox where I can kind of put the feelings of like this ebb and flow into words cuz it's what I talked. I've had a therapist, I want to say my first one I was 12,
Mm.
I want to say. Then like some gaps, but I've always had like a therapist. If not, my sister was going to therapy since I think she was 5 when she started, kind of thing, because of all the things like she had with behavioral stuff. And my mom's one of those moms that like with this like special ed system, like if they tried to like put my sister in a box and be like, oh well, she can't do this because she's in these classes. My mom was the first one to be like, no, we'll see. If she can't do it, that's fine.
Yeah.
But you need to give her the opportunity first. Like, period, end of story. So my mom was very much like, mental health first. It shouldn't be a thing that holds you back, but it is a part of your life.
Right. Right. Yeah. So I grew up in the mid to late 80s and in 90s, and like it was like with school it was just like they just threw you somewhere. Like it
Yeah.
was the I always I've talked about it before, like the education system like really failed like me and a few of my cousins. And like
Yeah.
we moved we moved from Rhode Island to Connecticut, which was literally, we lived in the border, so it wasn't very far. But now I'm in a whole different state, whole different school district when I was a kid. And I was excited because like all my cousins went to that school, and I have about 7 cousins. We're all close in age. And I get to this school, and like I didn't know we were like the bad family. You know what I mean? Like the bad side of the track family or whatever. So like
Oh
I
man.
was in like, so right away, they just because of a last name, I got put in special education. And like, because they had nowhere else to put people at that point. So like, I went through like this, it was crazy. Like, and I didn't understand it. And I'm like, you know, and then like part of me like became it, you know, and I don't think like now they have different, like now they have like those like ILPs or what, like individual learning plans for people and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Like we didn't have that. Like we were just like, all right, you're
I
going in this one room, like you know.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
there's been a lot of when it comes to special education disability rights. There's been huge movements throughout the '90s. Also, like the ADA and IDEA. Oh, I forget what it's called. It's with education though through disability. Um, there's been a lot of changes with that because, like, even from comparing my sister, who was in fourth grade in like the early 2000s to graduating high school in 2016. I want to say by like middle school, she was in regular classes, if not honors. Like at that point, I'm pretty sure she was in mostly honors when she graduated high school, if not like some honors.
Yeah.
So there is like it started getting taken more seriously. And by the time I got to high school, um, if you had a learning disability or especially like if you had like severe developmental disorders, like those weren't kids that got picked on. Especially like if you were on like if you had like say Down syndrome. If you were caught bullying them, like that was then like the football team's kicking your ass.
That's
Like you
good.
don't mess with him. I remember my favorite is it was my sophomore year homecoming and we did like mosh pits. We were like all 14, so it wasn't like a mosh pit. It was just us jumping around. But we'd make the circle, and then we'd all go like 3, 2, 1, and all run to the center, and with one person in the middle. Once it was one of the students with Down syndrome, and we're like, okay, cool. We formed a little like hug around them as we all went in, so that they were protected and like in like a bouncing barrier kind of thing. But they were having the time of lives, still moshing. I remember our teacher was like heart sank, was like, oh no, this kid's gonna get trampled. But no, like it was understood, like no, they want to mosh. It might not be safe for them to fully be in like with the linebackers like jumping around. But okay, we're still giving them that opportunity. So like I was very lucky where I grew up. I will say.
That's awesome. Yeah. So yeah. So all right. So the mission statement is we're survivors, right? We're gonna right? Is that safe to say?
I'd say that's a pretty solid through line.
Yeah.
Through everything we write. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And now, how long have you guys been a band now?
A year and a half, 2 years.
I think we're getting closer to 2
we're
years.
getting.
We're like 2 months away from 2 years, kind of thing.
That happened fast.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, yeah, because I mean, and it seems to be a lot of movement, right? There's a lot of movement going on. You guys play a lot of shows.
Oh, absolutely.
All of them.
Yeah, I mean, so because we were putting out Codependence Anonymous like in February on Valentine's Day, I was like, all right, I want to capitalize on this and like.
By the way, that's a
as many
gangster
shows as
move.
possible.
Total gangster move right there. Valentine's Day dropping that.
That was Grace's idea. That's the marketing genius over there.
There are some people on on Valentine's Day.
There are. This is very true.
Yeah.
Also, then it was just easier for me to do marketing stuff with like hearts and like make it kind of an ad campaign going forward, because everyone's already in the mindset of hearts, relationship, Valentine's Day. Everyone's already in that, and there's a lot of breakups right before and after Valentine's Day. So I'm like, this is good.
Oh yeah.
That works.
Yeah.
So
So yeah.
Yeah.
But
awesome.
I wanted to make sure that like we got it out there like as fast. I was like, all right, first big release as a band. We got to hit like as much as possible, start playing shows with people. And it kind of helps that like right around when we started planning a lot of this, I started like looking towards the Buffalo scene, and that's how I found Chris and a lot of bands out there. I started getting into some of the bands out in Syracuse because our friend Curran is really in tight with their scene, so it was one of those things where it was like the minute I started thinking about it, all of these opportunities kind of just like popped up in front of us, So it's like, and the only reason we saw them was because we were already like kind of looking, So
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Now the cassette, is it self-released or did you guys go through the label?
Yeah, so we're going through. We just started working with a group, 1120 Records out in Buffalo. They're helping. They like finance the whole thing. It's run by this dude Matt Smith. You might have heard his name from Chris a few times. I know.
Yeah. I think Matt and I have talked once or twice through like Messenger or something. You know what I mean? But
that's his label. He started Because he was talking to us and he was like, yeah, I was having a conversation with this band that like was gonna sell some of their gear to like pay for vinyl. I was like, absolutely not. I'll help you guys out here, you know? And so he kind of like took it a couple of steps further from that. I was like, you know what? There's probably a lot of other groups in a similar situation. I'm gonna start like working with bands here in Buffalo and out in Western New York a little bit to help get like physicals made or help get merch made so that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's not a bunch of broke 20-year-olds selling like the tools to their craft to be able to sell CDs, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So 1120 Records paid for the tapes, which is awesome. Matt is the fucking best. He's a godsend. And I have this friend Jared that plays bass in a band called Jerry Biggs World Famous Band, who needs to be on this show. They're awesome. Go listen to them. They're
What's the
So
great.
real
name?
like
What's the name?
RIT meshed with real
Yeah,
Rochester kind of band. Like
Jerry
it's
Biggs
full.
World Famous Band. It's a novel of a name, but these guys are fucking awesome, and their bass player is genuinely like insanely talented artist. And he prints shirts for people around here, and he makes cassette tapes for bands as well. So I was like, all right, perfect. We've got a local label out in Buffalo that we want to work with, and we've got friends here in the local scene that are willing to make the tapes. Like that's kind of yeah,
Yeah.
it was the perfect thing at least for me because I love the just DIY music in general, you know, and just like the punk community, you know, because is joining the music scene here kind of felt like joining a bigger family, you know. It was like kind of the first place where I really felt like I fit in well. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to like go and use as many artists in Rochester, you know.
Yeah.
When I book bands at you know, the venue I work at, Flying Squirrel, I always go to like local Rochester bands first because that's like our family, you know, that's our community. So it lined up that we could get the tapes paid for and work with a local label, and then we could have, you know, help out a friend's company and like have them make the tapes for us. It was like the perfect
Yeah. That's
kind of
awesome.
like linking of two things.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, y'all too young to know about cassettes, no?
So
We know about them, but like I was born in 2001,
Yeah.
so
So the
Yeah.
saddest day of my life was when I helped my dad throw out his cassette collection.
Oh.
My family, I know. I to this day, I wake up in cold sweats about this too,
Yeah.
because like my whole family were big music fans when I was growing up. Like I said, my stepdad like taught me how to play drums, but like my dad and mom were both like huge music fans. My dad used to fucking break dance in
That's awesome.
Philly in like the 80s and 90s.
I always
So
forget
like
that.
yeah, which is weird talking to him now.
Yeah.
But he had this massive collection of cassette tapes. And I remember he was clearing out his storage unit while I was in high school, and he was like, "Hey, I need a hand chucking some boxes." And I was like, "Oh my God, can I like keep these?" And he was like, "Dude, you're never gonna play them." I was like, we went back and forth for a while. We chuck them, and literally the next year, I inherited my granddad's Buick with a
With a
cassette
cassette.
deck in
Oh.
it. And dude, I swear to this day, I wake up in cold sweats thinking about all of those like original like cassette tapes to all of these bands that are just like rotting in a landfill somewhere,
That's so
never
rough.
to be played. Heartbreaking.
Well, yeah, it's tough throwing away art. It's just like I had to do that. I was down in Tennessee for a little while, and someone gave me a reel to reel with boxes, like huge boxes of reels, and I never did anything with them. But then I was moving, and I packed everything I owned in the car, and the boxes wouldn't fit. And I should have just emptied it out and let them fall like into place and just pick them up later. But I had to get rid of them, and it was like I was so upset. Like it was just like,
Damn.
yeah. So I still have
Yeah.
the real player. It's in the closet, but like I don't have any reels. And it was I am talking two giant boxes full, like 4 feet high
Heartbreaking.
boxes
Damn.
Damn.
full of reels and like Beatles, all sorts of stuff. Like there were probably like like someone recorded them, but like
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
yeah. So I have way too many cassette tapes as it is, but whenever I can't get a vinyl, I'll buy a cassette. So
Hell yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I grew so the cassette was my generation. Like I had vinyl when I was younger, when I was real young. I even had an 8-track. I think it was the Village People.
Hell yeah.
And I had a
Hell
little
yeah.
8-track player, but cassettes were the thing, and then CDs happened, and I was like, oh, I love these CDs. I don't need cassettes anymore. And like I got sick of CDs by like 2003. So
Oh, I loved CDs. That was like we'd go to the
Yeah.
library, we'd get like the CD, we'd burn a copy of it and have it at home.
Yeah,
That and
yeah.
like CDs and like or like getting movies at Blockbuster. Those were my two favorite memories as a kid. Loved
the thing
doing that.
about CDs, once we were able to burn them, I was like, oh, this is just like making a mixtape, you know what I mean? So we would
Yep.
make all these ones, yeah. But like, what a process that was. So I don't own. Well, no, my work car has a CD player in it, but that's it. Nothing else. Like I own 2 cassette players in my house. You know, like I have
Hell yeah.
a couple record players. I have a reel to reel. But like, yeah, CDs. Like, and if I have like certain CDs that you can't find on any other, like not even digital. So I'm like, all right, I'll keep these. So I have a little collection of CDs still, but like, it was weird. I think CDs came out at a crucial moment. Like new metal, like I want to hear new metal on a CD. It's just that's what it was made for. Like that they just go,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. But like if anything lo-fi or like even like any kind of like stoner metal, like I want to hear that on a record, you know?
Yeah.
So, but like cassettes were, to me, they're just like art pieces. Like I just like, there was a while where I only had a few, but I had them just like on the shelf, you know, like just facing out and, you know, so, but so,
Actually, the conversation when we decided to make the cassettes, because this guy came up with it, and I was like, okay, who has a cassette player currently? Like a CD, at least, like that's most likely to be in someone's car if they have an older model. So like we did discuss that a lot, and they brought up the point of like people do just collect cassette tapes because it's cool to have a physical piece of media.
yeah,
So, like that's kind of how we landed on it. Because originally I was like, dude, let's just burn some CDs and call it a day.
yeah,
But
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
because
especially
that's the
like,
thing is like when you come up to a merch table like at a show, right? It's going to be like the stuff you grab is what catches your eye, right? And it's like especially like selling to somebody our age, it's like 50-50 whether they have a CD or cassette player to begin with. So why not go for like you said, why not go for like the art piece, right? The thing
yeah,
that looks kind of cool and a little bit different. And it
yeah.
feels like cassettes are starting to make a comeback. It's like a bunch of bands of
No,
iOS have started putting them
yeah,
out.
I don't know. I don't buy old cassettes. Every cassette I get now is all from new bands. And again, it's
Yeah.
usually because like I can't get it on vinyl. So I'm gonna, and I want something. I might not even listen to the cassette. I might just stick to the digital, but I want to have, like you said, physical media. And I think
Yeah.
when it comes to CDs and cassettes at a show, if people are there to like, if they want to buy a piece of physical media to remember the band or whatever, I think cassettes fit in your pockets better, like,
Oh my God, that is
that's
so
a
true
good
though.
point.
The amount of shirts I've almost lost in a mosh pit because I didn't have anywhere else to put it.
yeah. Or,
Very
like,
good point, actually.
now I'll throw this out there. Back in the days of like Jenko jeans, you could fit like 25 CDs in your pocket.
Yeah,
So
it's
that's
very
a
true.
little, and what went with Jenko jeans? New metal, right? So
There.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The music industry, they knew what they were doing. They knew what they were
Hell
doing.
yeah.
Yeah, no. So
It's
I don't know. I like the idea of cassettes. I have, like I said, I have 2. So I bought my first cassette player to make mixtapes for the struggling artist of the guests that have been on for a. I spent way too much money and time to build. It was for a raffle, for a giveaway for like this charity event my cousin was putting on, and I made 3 tapes of the same thing, and it was and like I bought J cards for them with like the logo of the podcast, and I still
Yeah.
have like I was like, I'm gonna use these. I still have like 143 or 147 because I only used 3. You know what I mean? So like I have all this stuff, but anyway, I had to figure out how to go from the computer to the cassette as opposed because the thing was built for a cassette to computer, and I was just like, this isn't. So I got it to work, but we made it work, and then I had to master it. That was a tough. Because again, I don't know what I'm doing, so I found some program that would just like, yeah, this will level everything out. Like that's good enough for me.
I still don't believe mastering engineers actually know what they're doing. To be honest with you, I fully believe that we are all getting scammed by the mastering engineer industry. Don't tell Josh I said that.
I ain't saying shit.
Hell yeah.
Well, that's what he doesn't watch
right
us.
on.
That's
So yeah,
fair.
so I mean,
Idiot.
there's definitely momentum with y'all because you're playing shows. You're working with this label with the cassettes. You're gonna push them. I'm sure y'all seem like go-getters. You're gonna push those cassettes. You're gonna sell them all. How many do you have?
We did a limited run. We only did 25 because I still, as confident as I was selling it to the band, I thought about it for a sec. I was like, I don't know how these are going to sell. Oh, man.
I told them, like, no more than 50 if we're doing a big run. Like, I was like, I'm putting a cap on that because I don't want to be stuck with 50 cassette tapes if need. But, like, 25 was, like, a happy medium. I'm like, all right, I got enough family if we need to get rid of those. You know?
Yeah.
Right on. Yeah, I live by the thing of like, and it's like a marketing thing for me. It's like I would rather sell out of something because I have limited quantity, and then when I do the second one, it's like, oh, this is back in stock now because it sold out the first time, right? Always try to sell out the first time. Always try to sell out of the product. Like I worked at a restaurant, and it was like on the beach. It was this awesome like place, but like the kitchen was the size of a snack bar, and the seating had like 150 seating, and the biggest complaint was, hey, we're waiting 2 hours after we order our food. So I was like, this is how we're going to fix it. We're going to set up a hostess stand, and there's going to be a line out the door, and people are going to want to come in here because there's a line. People would rather wait in line for an hour to sit down than sit down and then just order food and not get it for 2 hours. So, like, I kind of fixed that for them. that was a big thing, you know. So, but yeah, I'm a firm believer of go with limited quantity, sell it out, and then get more. You know what I mean? Like it's sometimes. Sure. I mean, unless you know you're gonna sell, like with vinyl, right? You get breaks on how much vinyl you buy, right? So if I'm gonna buy, like, if I want to get it for, $7 a piece, then I'm gonna have to like get 500 of them, right? We'll just say, but like, that's not a good deal if I'm sitting on 480, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I remember I've seen so many videos of people where they're like, I want you to go to a bank, take out a loan for $4,000 and hold that in your hand, because that's what you're spending getting vinyl made. And I was like,
fuck. Yeah. So I would rather go. If I was to ever do like a label, I would do limited runs and then bring it back. If I felt like there was a want for it, you know what I mean? Because again, I've gone on someone's Bandcamp and said, oh, they only have one of this left. I'll buy it on like without even hearing it, you know? So yeah. So that's a little pointer for you too. Just put down 3 left in stock and just always leave it at that. And you will sell them.
I sat there as I was putting them on our page. I sat there and thought about it hard. I was like, how many of these do I want to say we have?
So we are at a point, we're like restocking our merch right now and kind of going through that. So we are at a point where like we genuinely only have like, I think we have 2 sets of black earrings left.
Yeah.
And like I finally did an inventory and like made a sheet. So like we are at a point where we do have limited things. Wink, wink, not
Freya is making us more earrings, by the way.
Also,
so we've got like 5 sets coming.
Heck yeah. All our merch is made by like local queer artists we're friends with, which is also the nice thing.
Yeah.
So all of it's kind of going back to like the community, which is also like, I don't know, like Skye was saying, like Rochester community being our family. I think with our band also we try to just in general try to pump up and encourage the community as much as we can. Because we got a lot of talented artists. Like the earrings we have are like they're made from ceramic and like fired and glazed, and that's how she makes them.
That's
so
awesome.
like, yeah, it's really cool.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, Chris does the same thing with like. So I know he made stickers for 716 The Sound, and like he locally sourced it, and like I'm like that's awesome. If you got the means to do it, like and you know the people to do it, do that for sure.
Yeah.
So. All right, so I want to talk about I'm keeping you guys, and I apologize, but I want to talk about American Dream. Right? That's the is that the
Yes.
working title or is that the actual title?
That's the actual title.
All right, so this song has this like, stop me if I'm wrong, but like I feel like it's got like this 70s rock sound to it, like this yeah. All right, so I'm assuming I'm in the right direction here. Like
Yeah,
yeah.
no, for sure. I started off kind of like the original pitch I gave Jay for like the production round was like, okay, so are we looking for kind of like a John Mayer kind of vibe? And I sat there and I thought about it for 2 minutes and I was like, I can't pull that off.
Originally, it was just supposed to be like vocals and acoustic guitar kind of thing.
Yeah.
So then we ended up being like, it wasn't full enough.
It needed a little extra judge.
Yeah, it definitely needed something more behind the voice instead of just having. I 100% agree with that. So
And again, it's in the same vein as everything else you put out, right? It's in this thing. There's a lyric on here. I couldn't. What was the one? There's a lyric about father's permission.
Oh,
what's that whole verse? Because I was trying to. I didn't catch it all when I was trying to.
So there's the chorus where it's. A prom queen for a daughter shouldn't be required by a father.
Yeah.
That's the chorus. And then one of the verses is traditional views, trying to fill daddy's shoes, up with your small feet.
Yeah.
So
okay.
That is about the same guy that Detox and Leash is about. Because we talked like engagement and discussed kind of like future stuff. And he had a very much like, he's like, I want to move back to my hometown, like white picket fence kind of thing.
Jesus. Hallmark movie shit.
Worcester,
huh?
So, exactly. So
yeah.
I was like, I don't know.
Worcester.
Worcester, man?
I was like, maybe Framingham, because like there's a deaf school there. But he was like, yeah, we'll move back to Worcester, and I was like,
I mean, Worcester's not terrible. It's not. It's not terrible, but I get what you're saying. you know what I mean? So yeah. I lived in Worcester for like 5 years actually. So
I'm so sorry.
Very nice part of town.
No, I'm gonna hop on with Trev on this one. Worcester's not that bad. That's where Seth is from. I've stayed with Seth's family, alright? That's a lovely place.
The people are lovely. The driving is awful. And
this is true.
What is it?
Terrible.
Dude,
terrible.
that guy
the worst rotary in America. The most dangerous rotary in America we have. It's like known. Yeah.
Oh, what's the name of it?
Kelly Square.
Kelly Square, yep. I drove through that and I hated it every second.
Well, they changed it since, I don't know, in the last, we'll say 6 years.
They changed it the year after I drove on it.
Yeah. Oh, so
and I know this
like,
I was like,
yeah.
I was like, I'm not coming back. And he's like, no, they changed it. I'm like, I still didn't go because I'm like, I don't trust that.
It was the figure eight, and you had to you couldn't I learned how to drive in Worcester after living there for a week. I was like, all right, I know what I got to do here, So yeah.
Oh man.
But I will tell you, Kelly Square is the home of the Hotel Vernon, which is the last DIY club in the area, and it is very much a lovely place. They gentrified everything but, they charge $2 for Narragansett lagers now instead of $1, so maybe they gentrified that a little bit. But we'll take the $2 drafts. It's okay. That's okay. Yeah. So
there's only so much you can do, I guess.
Right on. Yeah. No. But I get what you're saying. You don't all that stuff is weird. That's just the weird outlook of you meet someone and then engagements and permissions and we're gonna go back to my hometown and it's gonna be why
that also just very different view. I think very much when discussing with him, he wanted a traditional family. If I do have kids, they will most likely be adopted. My mom's adopted, and then I have friends who are transracially adopted. And basically, I don't care if I'm adopting a kid, what color they are. They're my kid, period, end of story.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. that brought up like tensions when discussing, because he's like, well, then we won't look like each other kind of thing. It was a weird conversation, but very much he was like, yeah, we're not even touching on that. It was very like white picket fence, have a boy and the girl, he'll be a quarterback, she'll be the prom queen kind of thing, like very Americana. And I'm
All right,
like,
now having that dream for Worcester is weird. I will give you that one.
Yeah.
That
you
is
see
like
what
a
I'm saying?
yeah.
I think in his head he's picturing more Holden than Worcester, but that's a whole
Yeah, or
other
like
thing.
Barry or somewhere like,
Or
some
Shrewsbury.
yeah. So I mean I live in this little like village, but I'm 10 minutes to Worcester, I'm 25 minutes to Providence, Rhode Island, and I'm an hour to Boston because of traffic. Like so I'm pretty centrally located, which is pretty cool. But this is like it's funny cuz like I grew up in this small little coastal town in Rhode Island, and like I couldn't wait to get out. And then when I finally settled, like I settled in a little, probably a smaller town, right? But I'm close to everything. Like I'm close to everything, and like it's not that
Yeah.
big of a deal. And but like it's funny because like I was the one that we'll take, like, instead of the Hallmark movie, we'll take like the, I don't know, the other one where like the people can't wait to get out of town, like those movies.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like they
Yeah.
have to go, they have to leave because they don't want to be the townie. They don't want to. And that was me. Like I was like, I don't want. Yeah.
That would be. I ran from Long Island so fast.
I relate to that so hard. There's a reason that we both moved like 7 hours north to go to school.
Right. Yeah. And I
mean,
moved
there are a
around.
couple extra layers to mine, I think, but
Similar layers. I didn't want my mom being able to drive up to me, because she did drive up when my sister went to Westchester, which is only like 2 hours. They had an argument.
oh
Sister
boy.
hung up the phone. Mom drove right up there. So I was like, all right, noted. Gotta go further.
Yep. At least you have time. Someone can warn you within the 7 hours that she's on her way, right? So,
Yeah, exactly.
I can ditch to Canada within the 7
yeah,
hours she's on her way.
exactly.
Get out of the country. If
Right on.
need.
Yeah. So, American Dream, great song. Great song. I loved that 70s, like I don't know, like Stevie Nicks, Pat Benatar, like that vibe of the song, and it's not even like the vocal delivery. It's just the whole melody is one of those songs. Like I totally like felt it. You all do a good job at painting a picture.
Thank you.
And not just like with the whole thing with the melodies and the vibes, and like, I could just hear that melody and I could picture something, like not the story, but I could picture the setting. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Much like with Roadkill Jack, like you picture this setting and like what's about to go down.
Oh yeah.
I think our band is pretty good at like explaining the vibe, because like we'll like in our notes for our lyrics it will say like, this is the vibe, like you're being chased, or vibe of like Americana. Like we'll communicate to each other like, hey, it's missing this. Here's like what I want you to be feeling. Here's like the image I'm trying to create, and then we work together to make that.
Yeah.
So like whenever you like, that is very much intentional. Like, okay, what do we want this to feel like? What do we want this to sound like? And discussing like literally like what do, like for Break Me Down, I specifically said I want you to feel the anxiety of being chased during the instrumental part. So the guitar actually is supposed to mimic a female voice screaming, while the bass is the one chasing it. So we had a full discussion discussing like stuff like that, of like what's our intent with our music and what do we want others to feel. So we're pretty open about talking about that, which I think helps, like especially with like American Dream. I was like, I want it to be slower, but I still want it to feel full, and I want it to be like kind of like a growing frustration almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think we've gotten pretty lucky too that like between Mason and Sam and Calvin, like we've had, other musicians that can also like kind of put that together really well,
We've
like you explained that vibe.
Amazing songwriters and musicians.
Really lucky, but yeah. It's pretty awesome watching everything come together. Especially like because I was one of the people that like helped Mason learn how to play guitar, which like 4 years ago, if you told me that Mason, who was struggling through like Holiday by Green Day, was gonna be like on a stage soloing behind his fucking head, like my head would have blown off, you know. So it's been really cool to like watch everybody, especially like even Jay when they first started playing music. Yeah, when you first started singing with the Immortal Six, like that was that it's been really cool, you
That's
know.
awesome.
So,
That's awesome. Sounds like there's a lot of fun going on. That's if you're not having fun, what's the point, right?
exactly.
You know.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's a good way to get the shit out. Get the shit out while having fun is better than getting the shit out and not having fun. you
Oh
know.
yeah. No, for sure. Absolutely.
So what's next for Faith to Fear? What are we what's going on?
Oh. So we've got two shows coming up. By the time this episode comes out, we will have done our first two like proper out of town shows. This coming weekend we're playing the Bronx and we're playing Pittsburgh in three
Right on.
weeks, April 18th. And then we've got, unfortunately, Mason and Calvin are graduating college and moving away. So we've got heartbreaking to watch them go, but we've got the next, guitarist and bass player kind of like ready to rock. So we've got our farewell show for them planned for May, and then it's just planning a full album.
Yeah.
We've got, doing some more songwriting, buckling down, figuring out production, planning ahead, and planning hopefully a trip out to Boston because at
Hey.
this point I've fallen absolutely in love with your friends in Hell and Coffin Salesman, and I want to play a
Oh,
show with them so fucking badly.
they just played my house 2 weeks
I know
ago.
I saw the videos from that, by the way, looked so fucking sick. The
Yeah.
worst FOMO I've ever had watching like that looked fucking rad.
Yeah. It was a very special night, I'll say. Yeah. I was
Yeah.
running around with my dog a lot. She got scared. Like she loves people, but like once the music started, she's like, So
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I hung out with her, but my apartment's not that big, so I could hear everything going on. So it was cool. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It was a very special. That was a very special show. It's the third one I've had here, and yeah, I think we're gonna have another one this summer too. So we'll see.
Ooh. Gotta butter him up for a fourth, I guess.
Yeah. So that's cool. So all right. So you want to get out? You want to get out to Boston at some point? You want to get out there more? You're gonna
We
have
also
some.
are gonna have a single coming out in June.
Yes, we got
Hopefully
another one.
for Pride
Yeah.
is the goal.
Yeah. You
Cool.
want to talk about, singing about survivors? This one's gonna be.
Yeah. This one actually is mostly vocally led by Skye too, because this is their baby. So I do the chorus, but otherwise this one's all them, heart and
Right
soul.
on.
Yeah. It's called Twinkie Defense. So I'm not sure if you remember when that kid Next Benedict died last year, but
Yeah.
Jay and I went to the vigil together in Rochester, and just like all of the emotions around that kind of like took me back to this like kind of like this really kind of like sad and scary place, from like back when I was in high school and I was struggling with my own identity and like trying to like push that behind a wall while I'm like also talking my friends off ledges, It was
Yeah.
just like thinking about just how alone they felt. I just like sat down and kind of just wrote everything that was kind of like on my heart in the moment, and it kind of like took the form of the lyrics of the song, And so we've kind of been working on that for like a year and like crafting it into something that I think hopefully people, enjoy and resonate
Dude,
with
it's a
and like find.
banger. So not to kill that moment, it's a banger. Even if you don't like understand the lyrical content, it's just good.
Yeah, like I'm hoping even if you're not queer, you'll similarly feel like the get the boot off of your fucking neck kind of vibe to
Yeah.
the song.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's amazing. I can't wait to hear it. I can't wait to hear it. All right. And then you said down the road an LP.
Yes,
That's
yeah.
cool.
Hopefully, yeah, we've got, I don't know, 10, 12 songs, I think, sitting in the
Please.
drive, ready to, like, start working on, like, fully.
Well, even like performance wise, like those 5 singles we can probably fill an hour at this point of just original material if we
Oh,
play
easily.
all our songs.
Easily, for sure.
Hmm.
So we have other stuff trying to figure out, do we want to release this as like a single, like top 5?
You don't have to twist my arm.
I hope that never sees the light of day.
Oh, it's gonna. You
But
can't
like,
escape this now.
I know. But stuff like that, like we have all these songs that we've been playing for these 2 years that just haven't made it onto our EP. Because also we're like, all right, we could turn this EP into a full LP, like off the bat. But I feel like it's better to start from an EP and then go from there.
Yeah.
So we're trying to figure out also what's. Cause I very much like the story to be told in the album. I don't want to just throw songs on there just cause.
Right.
If we have like a B side, maybe it's like, oh, exclusive. But so it's trying to figure out, all right, what do we want this vibe to be? Also, I'm very big on like song placement. So like
Me
we do
too.
have like
Yeah.
exactly. So like we have slower songs and kind of figuring out where to place that among our heavier ones. I don't want just like a brick wall heavy and then like a brick like, slow.
Yeah.
You got to figure out how to like mingle them. So we've been
Oh,
working
yeah.
on that and trying to figure out the vibe. We've been also talking about like titles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like the one I've been throwing around currently is biologically inaccurate because that came from when Trump went, all right, we have male and female, that's it. And I'm like, dude, biologically that's not even right. And actually, fun fact, American Dream, when it comes out April 30th, it's because it's going to be his 100th day in office. So we're doing it as a fully, all right, you've done, because I think it's the first 100 days of them being in office and executive orders is what's supposed to, like, predict the next 4 years kind of thing.
Which, Jesus fucking Christ.
We're not going to talk about that.
Yeah. We're too deep in for that conversation now.
But that's kind of one of this is like, all right, we hit the 100 days and having a song kind of as protest to these American dream values that aren't feasible anymore realistically.
Yeah. I have a piece called "The American Dream." I'll send it to you after this. I think y'all might like it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's going to be in a project that's coming out pretty soon. So, yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, so, cool. Where can people find you on the socials? Where can they find your music?
All right, we got.
I know you're everywhere because I am everywhere.
All over the place.
We interact on every level.
I am chronically online. So we are on Bandcamp, obviously, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, Facebook, YouTube. Do we have any that I'm forgetting?
Red Note. If that's still alive.
I don't even know what that is.
It's the Chinese TikTok that when TikTok was banned, everyone jumped ship to that. I actually do recommend it. It's a very sweet community there.
Okay.
But like we kind of do so both. Like if I post something on TikTok, I usually also post it on Red Note. But I think on all of them except Red Note were Faith, the number 2, and then Fear. On Red Note were F2F banned because they have weird rules about the word faith being in it. So
you would think okay. All right. Yeah.
well,
all right.
it's because you have to like follow like the rules of China for that one. Versus,
yeah. Fair enough.
So like, all right, cool. F2F for that one.
Those things didn't really question it too much.
Yeah, I was just like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we're everywhere, more or less.
Yeah.
Awesome. Jay, Skye, thank you for coming on and talking with me. And before we go, I do want to say, I think one of our first interactions, I don't know who it was, someone on the Instagrams, and Skye.
I don't comment. I don't. Yeah,
so I don't even know. I don't even know what was the response to, but kind words that I kind of needed at that moment, and I appreciate it.
Yeah. I still remember because it was the Megan from Work episode. I distinctly remember it because that was. We've got a couple of bands around here with trans identifying members, but that was the first time that I come across like somebody from like outside of my circle, that talked about like the experience of being gender fluid, and that was something that like it was just cool to hear it talked about, hear it on a platform, especially like like this is a pretty like solidly sized show, like it's and a lot of awesome conversations happen on here, and like having somebody that represented like an experience that I didn't see reflected often. It's like really cool, you know, and I just like I wanted to make sure that that was said. So I'm
Thank
glad
you.
it came at a good time.
Yeah, definitely did. Thank you, and I appreciate that. And like, I'm just, I just live under the rule. Like, I talk to everyone I want to talk to on this show, and like, I always live just do whatever you want in life. Just don't affect the quality of life of others. And I'm want to hear everyone's story. So that's why
Amen
I'm
to
very
that.
selfish. That's why I do this show. So I want to hear everyone's story. It all started because I wasn't inspired as an artist, and I wanted to be re-inspired. So I started interviewing artists, and that's how it all came to be. So
That makes sense, though.
I was gonna say that's probably
That's
the best
a great
reason
way
to
to
start
do
this
that.
ever. Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much for coming on, and I can't wait to hear more music from you.
Hell yeah.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much
much.
for having us.
Yeah, this is awesome.
A white picket fence makes no sense to me. There's the plastered walls and plastic dolls, drives with